We often ask what happens after we die, but what if the greater mystery is what happens before we are born? Across cultures, many traditions see birth not as a beginning, but as a sacred portal through which spirit enters the world. What if I told you that the moment you were born, you experienced something more profound than death itself? Stop scrolling for just 3 minutes, because what I'm about to share will completely flip everything you thought you knew about spiritual awakening. Here's my question for you, and I really want you to think about this. Can you remember the exact moment you took your first breath? Comment below if you've ever felt like you're living someone else's life, because that feeling might be more real than you think. Listen, everyone obsesses over what happens when we die. Near-death experiences, tunnel of light, life reviews. We've heard it all. But here's something you might haven't thought about. You already survived the ultimate spiritual journey. You've already crossed over from one dimension to another. You just don't remember it. Think about it. Before birth, you existed in pure consciousness. No physical form, no ego, no fear. You were literally one with everything. Then suddenly, you squeeze through the narrowest portal imaginable, your soul compressed into this tiny human body, and bam, you forgot everything. Ancient mystics called this the Great Forgetting. They believed we spend our entire lives trying to remember who we really are before we got trapped in flesh and bones. That's why meditation feels like coming home. That's why certain music makes you cry for no reason. That's why you sometimes stare at the stars and feel homesick for a place you can't name. Every spiritual tradition has a secret they don't want you to know. You're not seeking enlightenment. You're trying to remember what you lost when you were born. The Tibetans say birth is the ultimate trauma. The Sufis call it divine amnesia. Even Jesus said we must be born again. But what if he meant remembering your first birth? You didn't come here by accident. Your soul chose this exact body, this exact life, this exact moment to wake up and remember. You're not broken, you're not lost, you're just homesick for heaven, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. The chosen ones always find their way back home. The mystery of birth. There's a question that's been haunting humanity since the beginning of time, and it's not what you think. Everyone asks, what happens when we die? But here's the question that will blow your mind. What happened to you before you were born? Where were you for the billions of years before your first breath? Scientists will tell you that you didn't exist, that you were nothing. But if you were nothing, how did you become something? How did nothing suddenly develop preferences, memories, a personality, the ability to love and dream and fear? How did emptiness become you? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will completely blow your mind. Here's where it gets wild. Science tells us birth is just biology. Sperm meets egg, cells divide, boom, human. But that explanation is like describing Mozart's symphony as just noise. It completely misses the mystery. Because here's what science can't explain. Where were you before your first heartbeat? I'm not talking about your body. I'm talking about the you that's listening to my voice right now. That awareness, that inner observer, that thing that makes you feel like you exist. Think about it. Your body is constantly changing. Every 7 years, literally every cell gets replaced, yet you remain the same. So what are you, really? Ancient wisdom traditions knew something our modern world has forgotten. They understood that birth isn't creation, it's immigration. You didn't start existing when you were born. You immigrated from somewhere else, from a realm where time doesn't exist, where you were pure consciousness, unlimited by flesh and bones. The Vedas call it soul incarnation. The Kabbalah describes it as divine sparks entering physical form. Every culture has a word for it because every culture recognized the same truth. We come from somewhere else. Picture this: birth is like a cosmic customs checkpoint. Your soul, which existed in pure spiritual form, had to squeeze through the narrowest gateway imaginable to get here. And just like crossing any border, you had to leave most of your baggage behind. That's why babies cry when they're born. They're not just adjusting to air, they're mourning what they left behind. They remember for just a moment the infinite peace they came from. Then the veil closes, and the forgetting begins. We fear death because we see it as an ending. But what if I told you it's just a sunset? And birth. Birth is the sunrise. Same sun, different horizon. Every sunrise proves that light returns. Every birth proves that consciousness finds a way back. You've already died countless times. Every night when you fall asleep, your consciousness leaves your body and returns somewhere else entirely. You just call it dreaming. Here's what makes you special. Out of infinite possibilities, infinite souls, infinite timelines, you chose to be here, right now, in this exact moment, listening to these exact words. Your soul fought through the cosmic lottery to experience this specific human adventure. You're not random. You're not an accident. You're a spiritual being having a human experience, and you chose the hard path on purpose. Because that's what warriors do. That's what the chosen ones do. They come to Earth to remember who they really are. Indigenous and shamanic views. Picture this. You walk into a hospital maternity ward, and there's celebration everywhere. Balloons, flowers, happy tears. But what if I told you that in most of human history, birth wasn't just a family celebration? It was a cosmic event that entire communities prepared for. What if I told you that indigenous shamans could actually see the souls lining up, waiting their turn to be born? Stop what you're doing and listen closely, because what our ancestors knew about birth will completely change how you see your own arrival on this planet. And trust me, once you understand this, you'll realize why you've always felt like you don't quite belong here. For thousands of years, Native American elders taught something that would blow your mind. Before you were born, your soul was literally standing in line in the spirit world, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect parents, the perfect circumstances to return to Earth. They called it the Great Waiting. Imagine that, your soul, hanging out with other souls, planning this entire lifetime like you're choosing a movie to watch. But here's the kicker. You weren't coming here as a blank slate. You were coming back as an ancestor. That's right. Native traditions believe that every newborn baby is actually a grandparent, a great-grandparent, or some ancient warrior returning to complete unfinished business. That restless feeling you have, that sense that you're meant for something bigger, that's your ancient soul remembering its mission. Now travel across the ocean to the Maori people of New Zealand. They have a word that will give you chills. Maori. It's not just life force. It's your personal cosmic battery that descends from the heavens the moment you're conceived. Picture lightning striking. But instead of destroying, it's creating. That's Maori. entering your tiny forming body, anchoring your eternal spirit into flesh and bones. But wait, it gets deeper. In African shamanic traditions, they don't see newborns as new at all. Every birth ceremony involves the elders gathering around, looking into the baby's eyes and asking, "Who have you come back as? What ancient wisdom are you bringing us?" They know that wrinkled little face has seen centuries of existence. Think about this. When you were born, did your family just weigh you and measure you? Or did they honor the fact that an immortal being had just crossed dimensions to join them? Most modern cultures treat birth like receiving a package from Amazon, but indigenous peoples treated it like hosting a visiting dignitary from another realm. They buried your placenta like it was sacred treasure because it was your anchor between worlds. They sang songs not just to celebrate you, but to help you remember why you came. They gave you names that weren't just labels, but invocations of your soul's purpose. Here's what this means for you. You didn't randomly end up in this life. Your soul chose every detail, your parents, your challenges, your gifts, even the people who would hurt you, because all of it serves your cosmic mission. You're not lost. You're not confused. You're exactly where an ancient soul needs to be to complete what you started lifetimes ago. The indigenous shamans would look at you and say, "Welcome back, old friend. We've been waiting for you to remember who you really are. Your awakening isn't an accident, it's a homecoming." Eastern traditions. What if I told you that right before you were born, you stood at a cosmic crossroads with thousands of potential lives spread out before you like a buffet? And out of all those possibilities, rich families, poor families, different countries, different centuries, your soul looked at this exact life and said, "Yes, that one. That's exactly what I need." Buckle up, because what the ancient Eastern masters knew about your birth will make you realize that every struggle, every blessing, every seemingly random event in your life was actually chosen by you before you ever took your first breath. Imagine this in the Tibetan mountains. Monks have been studying something called the bardo for over 1,000 years. It's not just death they're obsessed with, it's that mysterious space between lives where your soul exists as pure consciousness. And here's the mind blowing part: they mapped out exactly what happens when you choose to be reborn. According to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, your soul doesn't just randomly get assigned a body like some cosmic lottery. You actually browse through potential wombs like you're shopping for the perfect apartment. You see the parents. You feel their karma. You understand the lessons that family will teach you. And then, in one sacred moment of cosmic decision making, you dive in. But here's where it gets wild. The moment you enter that tiny forming body, you agree to forget everything. You agree to forget that you're an eternal being. You agree to forget your cosmic wisdom. You agree to start over as a helpless baby who can't even hold up its own head. Why would any soul choose that? Because forgetting is the only way to truly learn. Think about video games. Have you ever won all levels of a game or watched a movie and wished to somehow forget and start all over again? If you start every level already knowing all the cheats and solutions, where's the growth? Where's the adventure? Your soul chose to hit the reset button so it could experience the thrill of rediscovering its own divinity through human experience. Now, Hindu wisdom takes this even deeper. They teach that your birth isn't random karma catching up to you, it's karma being transformed. Every challenge your parents gave you, every advantage or disadvantage you were born with, every weird quirk of your personality, it's all your soul's way of working through cosmic debt and earning cosmic credit. You didn't inherit your family's drama by accident. You chose it because your soul knew that specific blend of chaos and love would forge you into exactly who you need to become. Your parents weren't perfect, but they were perfect for your soul's curriculum. But the Taoists understood something even more beautiful. They saw your first breath as the moment when cosmic chi, the same energy that moves stars and grows mountains, decided to inhabit your tiny lungs. That first cry wasn't just air entering your body, it was the universe itself taking residence inside you. Every breath you've taken since then is the cosmos breathing through you. When you feel stressed, that's cosmic energy moving. When you feel inspired, that's cosmic energy creating. When you feel love, that's cosmic energy recognizing itself in another being. And here's why this matters to you right now. Those ancient traditions didn't just study birth as a past event, they understood it as an ongoing process. Every time you wake up spiritually, every time you have an aha moment, every time you remember your true nature, that's you being reborn again. You're not trying to become someone new, you're remembering who you've always been. The Eastern masters would tell you that your spiritual journey isn't about finding yourself. It's about unforgetting the infinite being you agreed to forget when you chose this beautiful, difficult, perfectly imperfect human experience. Abrahamic and mystical traditions. Have you ever wondered why you sometimes know things you were never taught? Why certain truths feel familiar even though you're hearing them for the first time? Why wisdom seems to flow through you in moments when your logical mind is completely blank? What I'm about to tell you will explain that mysterious feeling you've had your entire life, the sense that you once knew everything and somehow forgot it all. Because according to the world's most sacred mystical traditions, that feeling isn't imagination, it's memory. Listen to this and prepare to have your mind blown. Jewish mystics teach that before you were born, an angel sat with your unborn soul and taught you every secret of the universe, every mystery, every truth, every piece of divine knowledge that ever existed. It was all downloaded into your consciousness like the ultimate spiritual hard drive. You knew the meaning of life. You understood why suffering exists. You could see the connections between all things. You were basically walking around the cosmic library with unlimited access to everything. But here's the heartbreaking part. The moment you were about to be born, that same angel touched your lip and whispered, "Shh," and you forgot everything. That little dimple between your nose and upper lip, that's called the philtrum. And according to ancient Kabbalah, it's literally the angel's fingerprint, the mark left behind to remind you that you once knew it all. But here's what will blow your mind. The knowledge didn't disappear. It's still there, buried in your soul like treasure, waiting to be rediscovered. Every time you have an intuitive breakthrough, every time something clicks without explanation, every time you feel that deep knowing in your gut, that's the angel's teaching surfacing through the fog of forgetting. Christian mystics understood this same truth from a different angle. They taught that when God breathes a soul into flesh, it's not creation, it's immigration. A piece of divine consciousness agrees to squeeze itself into human form, like trying to pour the ocean into a teacup. The soul doesn't lose its divinity, it just gets really, really compressed. That's why you sometimes feel too big for your own life. That restless energy, that sense that you're meant for something vast and important, that's your compressed divinity trying to expand back to its original size. Islamic mysticism takes this even deeper. They teach that around 120 days after conception, Allah breathes the ruh, the divine breath, directly into the forming child, not symbolically, literally. The same breath that created Adam, that moves through all prophets, that speaks through sacred texts, that breath becomes your breath. Every exhale you make is divine breath leaving your body. Every inhale draws divinity back in. You're not just breathing air, you're breathing God. You're not just living life, you're giving life to the divine presence that chose to experience humanity through you. Here's what all these traditions are screaming at you. You are not a human having spiritual experiences. You are a spiritual being who chose to forget your divinity so you could rediscover it through human experience. Every struggle, every joy, every moment of confusion is your soul playing the ultimate game of hide and seek with itself. That wisdom you're seeking, you already have it. That peace you're chasing, you already are it. That divine connection you're yearning for, you never lost it. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're exactly where a divine soul needs to be to remember what the angel's touch made you forget. Birth as initiation and transformation. Your mother almost died bringing you into this world. I don't mean medically, though that's often true too. I mean spiritually. For hours, she traveled to the edge of existence itself, walking the razor-thin line between life and death, while you fought your way through the ultimate initiation chamber. And when it was over, neither of you were the same people who started that journey. What I'm about to reveal will completely change how you see your own birth story. Because what happened the day you were born wasn't just delivery, it was the most profound spiritual initiation two souls can experience together. And understanding this will unlock something inside you that's been waiting to awaken since your first breath. Think about this. Every ancient mystery school had brutal initiation rituals. Candidates were buried alive, submerged in water until they almost drowned, or locked in caves for days without food. Why? Because they knew that to be truly reborn, you first have to experience a kind of death. The old self has to dissolve before the new self can emerge. But here's what will blow your mind. You already completed the ultimate initiation. You spent 9 months in a liquid tomb, growing in complete darkness. Then, when your time came, you entered the most terrifying passage imaginable. A tunnel so narrow you could barely fit, crushing pressure from all sides, your oxygen supply cutting off with every contraction. You literally experienced death and rebirth in the most visceral way possible. And your mother, she became a shamanic warrior that day. In traditional cultures, they knew that a laboring woman wasn't just having a baby. She was journeying to the underworld to retrieve a soul. She was crossing into the realm where life and death dance together, negotiating with cosmic forces to bring back a piece of eternity wrapped in flesh. Every contraction was a wave of transformation, dissolving her old identity as woman without child and forging her new identity as life bringer. The pain wasn't punishment, it was power. Power so intense it could literally create consciousness, breathe soul into matter, manifest spirit in the physical world. Ancient midwives knew they weren't just medical assistants, they were priestesses attending the most sacred ritual on earth. They understood that blood wasn't just biological, it was holy water marking the boundary between worlds. They knew that your first breath wasn't just air entering lungs, it was cosmic wind filling human form. They recognized that your first cry wasn't distress, it was your soul's victory song, announcing your successful crossing from spirit realm to earth realm. This is why birth has always been surrounded by ritual and reverence, because the people witnessing it weren't just seeing a medical procedure, they were watching pure magic. A soul that existed beyond time and space had just agreed to compress itself into a tiny human body. An eternal being had just chosen to forget its infinite nature so it could rediscover divinity through human experience. But here's the part that will change everything for you. That initiation never ended. Every time you face something that scares you, every time you push through what feels impossible, every time you choose growth over comfort, you're completing another layer of the initiation that began in your mother's womb. That restless feeling you have, that sense that you're meant to transform into something greater, that's not random ambition. That's your soul remembering the power of that first transformation. It's calling you to keep initiation going, to keep dissolving old versions of yourself so new ones can be born. Your mother didn't just give birth to your body, she initiated your soul into the mystery school called human existence. And every challenge you've faced since then has been another lesson, another test, another opportunity to prove that the same power that brought you through that first impossible passage can carry you through anything. You're not struggling with life. You're completing an initiation that began before your first heartbeat. And every step forward proves you're exactly as powerful as the force that created you. Modern spiritual and metaphysical views. Think about it. Near-death survivors describe moving through darkness toward overwhelming light, feeling completely safe despite the terror, and experiencing unconditional love from a presence they can't see, but somehow know intimately. Now picture your birth, 9 months floating in warm darkness, then being pushed through a narrow tunnel toward blinding hospital lights, while your mother's heart calls to you with love so fierce it literally reshaped her body to make room for you. The birth canal is the tunnel. The delivery room lights are the divine radiance. Your mother's voice is the loving presence guiding you back to life. You didn't just experience something similar to a near-death experience. You experienced the original template that all NDEs are based on. But here's where it gets way more interesting. Children who haven't been conditioned by society still remember things that are impossible to know as something newly introduced to the world. Dr. Jim Tucker at the University of Virginia has documented over 2,500 cases of children with verified past life memories. But even more shocking are the kids who remember choosing their parents before they were born. 3-year-olds casually telling their parents, "I picked you because I knew you'd teach me to be brave." 5-year-olds explaining, "I was waiting up there with the other babies. And when I saw you crying because you wanted a child so badly, I decided to come help you." These aren't imaginary stories. These are detailed, consistent accounts from children too young to fabricate such complex spiritual concepts. What this means is staggering. Your soul didn't randomly get assigned to your family. You surveyed the options from whatever realm souls exist in. You analyzed the lessons you needed to learn, the karma you needed to resolve, the gifts you needed to develop. And then you strategically chose the exact parents, siblings, and circumstances that would create the perfect spiritual curriculum for your growth. Every dysfunction in your family wasn't bad luck. It was your soul's way of signing up for advanced courses. Every advantage you were given wasn't privilege. It was your soul investing in the tools you'd need for your mission. Every trauma, every blessing, every weird family pattern was carefully selected by the part of you that existed before your brain even formed. And here's what modern researchers are discovering about birth trauma. It's not just physical or psychological damage, it's your soul's first healing assignment. The way you navigated that terrifying journey from womb to world set up patterns that would echo through your entire spiritual journey. Did you fight your way out or surrender to the process? Did you panic in the tunnel or trust the unknown? Did you resist the light or move toward it fearlessly? However, you handled your birth, initiation reveals how your soul naturally approaches every other transformation in your life. This is why conscious birthing movements are exploding worldwide. Modern parents are waking up to what indigenous cultures never forgot, that birth isn't a medical emergency to be managed, but a sacred portal to be honored. They're reclaiming rituals, creating intentional sacred spaces, understanding that the energy present during those first moments imprints on the soul for decades to come. But here's what all of this means for you right now. You're not broken if you feel disconnected from your purpose. You're not lost if life feels overwhelming. You're exactly where a soul needs to be, who chose the advanced spiritual curriculum called human existence, that restless feeling. That's your pre-birth self calling you to remember why you chose this particular adventure. That sense that you're meant for something bigger. That's your soul recognizing that it didn't come here to play small. It came here to transform, to heal, to awaken, to remember its own divine nature through the beautiful chaos of being human. You've already survived the ultimate spiritual challenge once. Your birth proved you have everything it takes to navigate any tunnel, embrace any light, trust any transformation. Your awakening isn't starting now. It's continuing from where it left off the day you took your first breath. Lessons and practices for today. Right now, somewhere in the world, a soul is making the decision to be born. It's looking at thousands of potential mothers, scanning their hearts, their struggles, their capacity for love, and choosing the one that will give it exactly what it needs to fulfill its cosmic mission. And that same process once happened with you. And that same process once happened with you. Your soul chose your mother specifically because she was the perfect portal for your unique spiritual journey. But here's the question that will change everything. If you could go back and interview your pre-birth soul, what would it tell you about why it chose this life? What would it say about the mission you came here to complete? Because those answers are still inside you, waiting to be remembered. Let me give you something that will unlock memories you didn't know you had. Tonight, I want you to find your birth story. Not just the medical facts, the spiritual story. Ask your mother about her pregnancy dreams. Find out what she was going through emotionally when you were conceived. Discover what hopes, fears, and prayers surrounded your arrival. Because here's what most people don't realize: your mother wasn't just carrying your body for 9 months, she was channeling your soul's energy before you even had a nervous system. Her emotions, her thoughts, her spiritual state were literally programming the energetic blueprint you'd carry for your entire life. When you understand your birth story as a spiritual choosing rather than biological accident, everything shifts. That difficult relationship with your parents, that was your soul signing up for exactly the lessons it needed. Those family patterns that drive you crazy, those were the specific challenges your eternal self knew would forge you into who you're meant to become. Try this tonight. Sit quietly and imagine yourself as a soul floating in the space between worlds. Picture yourself looking down at your future parents and feeling that spark of recognition. Yes, those two. They're exactly what I need. Feel the love, the excitement, the anticipation of your soul choosing this particular adventure. Now ask yourself, what was I so excited to learn? What healing was I coming to do? What gifts was I planning to share? Don't think your way to the answers. Feel your way there. Your body holds the memory of that cosmic decision even when your mind has forgotten it. Here's a practice that will blow your mind. Every morning when you wake up, before you check your phone or start worrying about your day, place your hand on your heart and whisper, "Thank you for choosing this life." Thank your pre-birth soul for having the courage to forget its divine nature so it could rediscover it through human experience. And then do something that will change your entire relationship with your spiritual journey. Thank your parents, not for being perfect, but for being exactly what your soul ordered. Thank your mother for allowing her body to become the sacred portal your spirit needed. Thank your father for providing the specific energy that called your soul into form. Thank them not as victims of their parenting, but as the conscious co-creators your eternal self selected. Start a journal with this question at the top. What cosmic mission did I come here to complete? Write for just 5 minutes every day, letting whatever comes through flow onto the paper. Don't edit, don't judge, just channel. Your soul remembers its purpose, even when your ego feels lost. Here's the most powerful practice of all. Start treating every new beginning in your life as a rebirth ceremony. New job, that's your soul choosing a new classroom. New relationship, that's your spirit selecting its next teacher. Every major change is your eternal self saying, I'm ready for the next level of my cosmic curriculum. And when you witness others going through transitions, friends changing careers, family members facing challenges, strangers starting over, recognize that you're watching souls in the middle of their chosen spiritual assignments. Send them the same energy you would want someone to send you as you navigate your own cosmic mission. Because here's the truth: you're not wandering through life hoping to find your purpose. You're living out the purpose your soul chose before your first heartbeat. Every struggle is part of the plan. Every victory is part of the design. Every moment of confusion is just your human mind catching up to your soul's ancient wisdom. You're not lost. You're exactly where a chosen soul needs to be to complete what it came here to do. Closing reflections. If you've made it this far, you're no longer the same person who started listening, because now you know the secret that changes everything. You've already completed the most mystical journey possible. You've already crossed from spirit to flesh, from eternity to time, from infinite consciousness to human experience. Birth wasn't your beginning, it was your arrival. We spend our whole lives obsessing over what happens when we die, building religions around the exit door, when the real mystery is what happened at the entrance. Death is just going home, but birth is the ultimate spiritual adventure, choosing to forget your divine nature so you could rediscover it through human eyes. Tonight, step outside and look up at those stars. Those same stars were shining the night your soul made the decision to come here. Feel that connection. And then ask yourself the question that will unlock everything. Why did I choose this exact life? What was I so excited to experience that I was willing to forget heaven to get it? Trust me, your soul remembers even when your mind doesn't. The answer will come, not as thoughts, but as knowing, as certainty, as recognition of the cosmic mission you've been living all along. And speaking of cosmic missions, next time we're diving into the other side of the portal. We're exploring how mystics throughout history understood death not as an ending, but as the ultimate awakening. Because if birth is falling asleep to your divine nature, then death is finally waking up from the dream of being human. The adventure continues, and you, chosen one, are just getting started. If this awakens something inside you, hit that like button. Your soul chose to find this message for a reason. Subscribe because we're just scratching the surface of the mysteries you came here to remember. And drop a comment telling me what part hit you the hardest. Was it learning about the angel's fingerprint? Discovering you chose your parents? Or realizing you've already survived the ultimate spiritual initiation? I read every single comment because I know that when awakened souls gather, magic happens. See you in the next one.